Okay, so this video is in support of an application by JFON Kalamazoo um, for a project called Know Your Rights. And this is Katrina Quillen.
Hi, I'm a staff attorney from the Grand Rapids office, and I also serve the office here in Kalamazoo. I come down once a week and assist in the Know Your Rights presentations and with general clinic casework as well. I'm mentored by a more experienced attorney here, Maya Justine Storm, from whom I have learned an immense amount and who is mentoring me in the Know Your Rights program so that I can carry it on.
Okay. So tell me about the Know Your Rights. What do you do when you, what does that involve?
So, Know Your Rights, basically, we go into the jail, the Calhoun County Detention Center, and we meet with the different pods of immigrants that ICE has currently lodged there. So we'll meet with them, we'll give a presentation talking about what their rights are. I mean, just because they're not American citizens doesn't mean that they're denied all of their rights. So we talk about how to get a bond or what to do if you have a final order of deportation but you've been there for more than 6 months, or many different procedural and legal avenues that these people could pursue. The only thing is we generally do not take cases from those pods, so everything that we do is just general advice.
Okay, so are there times when you do take cases?
Yes, we do take cases if we feel that the case is one that is either extremely difficult or it tugs at our heartstrings. We would love to be able to take every case that we see. We're just not able to, not only for manpower time, but it's just our caseload right now is growing. Mm-hmm. And it would be great to be able to take every case, but we just don't have the manpower or money to do so.
So for some of these people that you don't take cases, are they able to then appeal, or do they have enough information that they can make some progress?
It depends. A lot of times after seeing us, people will reach out to find an attorney because they realize how difficult this process really is. I mean, our system is not designed for immigrants to navigate it. It's designed against the immigrant already. And then when you throw in legalese and a language barrier, it's very hard for immigrants to navigate the system.
Mm-hmm. So what's an example of somebody that has really affected you?
In my very first presentation, we were with a pod of 31 women from Central America. And this one girl in particular, she looked like one of my best friends from law school. And she kept staring at me. And I was trying to figure out why. Mm-hmm. As it turns out, she hadn't seen anybody with blue eyes before.
Really?
Yeah. So it was very strange for her. So she just was perplexed and mesmerized by it. So that to me was just very astounding. And then learning more about her story, that she had been raped in transit to the U.S. from, I believe it was Honduras. Mm-hmm. It broke my heart, and I wished we were able to do more.
Mm-hmm. So how do you anticipate her case going?
I believe all of the women in that pod were applying for asylum. Mm-hmm. So
you said they were from Central America, so
yes.
It'd be El Salvador,
Honduras, Guatemala. They were largely fleeing the gang violence there and the drug violence. Mm-hmm. The only problem is gang violence alone isn't enough anymore for an asylum case. There has to be a more concrete, personalized fear of returning.
Okay, so what do you mean a concrete and personalized? Do you mean that they've got a name of somebody that's going to kill them, or
something like that? They have to have either have to have been persecuted against in the past, so somebody has to have already done something to them, or they have to have a credible fear of facing persecution when they return. So they have to be able to pinpoint, if I return to this country, this is for sure, or more likely than not, what will happen to me.
Okay, so you mean like
there has to be a very high probability that, and they have to be able to demonstrate that to a judge. And I mean, just because you can say there is a probability doesn't mean that you can demonstrate it to a judge. So it's very likely that, that if these women do return to their countries, yeah, they very well could be raped and killed. But they have to be able to provide evidence of that to a judge. And with them being incarcerated and not having access to the outside world, that evidence is really hard to get.
Okay, so with an attorney representing them, what could that attorney do to help?
The attorney is basically their link to the outside world. So to prove an asylum case, you have to be able to show what that country is like and why you don't want to return. If you have an attorney, that attorney has access to country reports, to a telephone more than the immigrant could, and can get in contact with people who can back this story up.
Okay. Are there things that are maybe less tangible that your presence provides, linked to the outside world and that kind of thing?
Right, so a link to the outside world is huge for these immigrants. But another thing is also that somebody cares, that the entire system is not against them, or that someone is there to help. And not all Americans are like Donald Trump.
Okay. So bottom line, if our presence weren't there, what would be the difference?
I think the difference would be nobody would be providing this information to these immigrants. What the information we provide them is information about their basic rights as human beings. And without us going there, they would have no idea that they even have these rights, and these rights would be infringed. So basic things like the right to a bond or the right to file a habeas corpus petition if you have this final order of deportation, but it's been 6 months since then and you're still in jail. Things like that would probably be overlooked and denied.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like us to remember that we might not have asked?
The important thing to remember about these presentations is that, while we can't take every case, we do the best that we can. Like, for example, the pod that I mentioned earlier, we're planning to go back to that pod as soon as some of the women have had a chance to fill out their asylum applications, or at least draft them, and kind of walk through those with them, because the application that these women are given is only in English.
Oh.
And these women are all Spanish speaking.
Okay, so how do you bridge that gap? Do you need an interpreter, or?
We usually will use an interpreter either from the pod, or we're going to be starting to take in volunteers from the community who are interested in helping.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you, Katrina.
Yeah.